I mean, Ziggs is incredibly strong. The only thing I'll say is Huanfeng was a little bit lackluster on it the last day that we saw him on it, so I'm hoping that he'll have a bit of a better time. The ultimate's a little bit astray and not really syncing up with his team, but certainly I think right now Ziggs an incredibly strong pick in the meta, and I mean, it's one Munchables you've been calling for a while to start getting picked up a little bit more often in that bottom lane.
I mean, I do think it's strong. I'm just surprised to see it so early in the draft, right? But it does make sense when you think about a lot of teams first picking things like junglers and top laners. Well, Bin and SofM more than happy to go for a counter pick themselves. So it makes sense to just go for that weak side bot early.
Well, I actually like what Tarzan's doing here, right? He's gone towards the early Olaf and kind of shuts down the opportunity to go for some of these picks, kind of automatically gives you the counter pick. Because you think about things like Diana that might want to go into the jungle, not really going to be having a good time against something like the Olaf. Maybe we see SofM bring out something like the Trundle. We've seen him play it a little bit and does do well against the Olaf, but certainly kind of limiting the pool that you can go for on Sunni's side if you want to have any sort of early jungle pressure.
Yeah, we'll see what SofM opts to go for. I will say Graves is an option. We've seen Graves into Olaf this split, and it did look pretty good. Could be a route that Suning lean into. The Renekton does look like it should be locked in here. Bit of a bug with the interface there, but
I'm actually not a big fan. There we go. Okay, I prefer this. So I actually was going to say, I wouldn't mind if they send this to Angel in the mid lane, but I'm actually not a big fan of Bin on the Renekton because we just talked about, hey, look, we like to see Bin having side lane pressure, taking over that lane, having the late game scaling option, not really getting that with the Renekton. So instead, they do take the Camille, they're going to give that towards Bin, and it'll be Angel who's piloting the Renekton in the mid lane. Still having that very strong pick, still able to do a lot of work in these team fights, and in the laning phase, it just means that you still get that late game scaler for Bin.
I just love that with both Bin and Ale, when you think about their top champions, it's all about scissors, right? You've got Camille with the scissor legs, you've got Gwen with the literal scissors. Definitely an interesting style of champion that we get to see from them. But it looks like it will be a Jax here to answer the Camille. We'll just wait for that to be locked in. It does seem like the interface is lagging a little bit, but should hopefully, yeah, there we go. The Jax comes in. This is a matchup that quite often you end up seeing, right? Where Camille can't do a lot of her damage because it is auto attack based. So Ale happy to take that one. The Diana banned away though by LNG.
Yeah, and I think we'll see the Thresh banned away here by Suning at some stage. You've already got the Aphelios there, so just try and make him that little bit more vulnerable. And although we see the Sylas banned against Icon, I still think you need to try and prioritize a little bit more safety in this bottom half of the map. For LNG, though, it looked like they're going to continue going this jungle route. Diana already taken off the board. We talked about the Trundle potentially coming through. We have seen a little bit of Nocturne jungle, and Nocturne is still left up and available. Not something that we've seen a huge amount of, but can do relatively well against the Olaf once you get to that level 6. So we'll have to see if maybe that's what Suning want to try and go for.
Yeah, we'll see what the options are. The Gwen being banned by LNG is a bit of a weird one, Dagda. Unless they think SofM was going to play the Gwen jungle.
I think that's what they're calling out for here, but I mean, if you end up in that situation, I think you're relatively okay here as LNG, but can be a bit of a nuisance for things like the Aphelios, right? Because you just don't get your damage off and you have to get so close to try and do it that you end up in range for a lot of Gwen's abilities. But anyway, Suning not going to ban away that Thresh that we were calling for, so I wouldn't be surprised to see this Thresh come through at some stage here for the LNG side. I'd rather actually see it here and hold on to your mid counter pick, but looks like they're just going to go, okay, cool, we'll just take the Lissandra into this Renekton matchup, keep ourselves totally fine, and it should all be good.
It certainly should. Now, I'm a little surprised that Thresh is still available for LNG if they want to opt into that alongside the Aphelios. I'm surprised Suning didn't just go for a ban on that, honestly, but opting to try and get Angel a good matchup in that mid lane instead. Suning actually going with a Rakan alongside the Ziggs. Now, previously, they've played things like the Nautilus, and Rakan certainly leans into a similar style play, right, where you can be the hard engage option for your team. Now Suning cycling through many junglers, and they go for a Zac, Dagda. This is already a spicy draft.
I mean, we want to dive. I suppose we're getting dive here for Suning. The thing is that Zac is like phenomenal at being able to make these engages happen, sets up so well for things like this this Rakan, or even follow up on the Rakan engage, gives you a nice little bit of CC chain coming through for the Ziggs as well, where you want something to allow him to land that Mega Inferno Bomb, and also just sets up these 2 bruisers incredibly well. So I like the Zac pick here. The only thing is very slow when it comes towards the clear. Well, not very slow, but slower than the Olaf when it comes towards the clear, and definitely will struggle if you end up in a 1v1 situation against the Olaf. Zac, a pick that more flourishes in early skirmishes when he has attention from his laner. So we'll have to see if SofM is going to have that opportunity, but also the crazy ganks that Zac offers, because when you get a Zac in the game, you know he's coming in from different angles.
Yeah, Dagda, I'm just looking at both of these teams. This is such a weird draft. Like, this is not the draft I was expected to see today. When you think about what's in the meta versus what we've got in this game, this is going to be a weird one, but I am more than happy to be along for the ride. As you can see, we're in LNG's arena today as we kick things off. Let's talk holistically, though, and look over to the side of LNG here. Because when you think of things like Lissandra, you think about going in. But when you think of Aphelios, you think about trying to peel back. So what's the vibe that you're getting from LNG's composition?
Well, I think the Lissandra is to enable this Aphelios, right? Either in 2 veins. If you're very far ahead, phenomenal. Lissandra goes in, she's that engaged tool, locks someone up, and allows Aphelios to close the gap on towards people. And in a situation where you want to be trying to kite back, well, that's where she then offers that same CC, but just in a peel sense, where you can ult people that are trying to dive on towards the Aphelios, things like this Camille, or something like the Renekton. Being able to have that Ring of Frost as well to lock them in place makes it a hell of a lot easier. I mean, even if a Hextech Ultimatum comes through, you can still try and buy that little bit of space for the Aphelios. Same reason why we've got this Galio, right? You've got that offensive and defensive capabilities coming through from the support and mid that can set up either way that LNG want to play these fights.
Well, as we get some very dramatic cinematic angles, we head on to Summoner's Rift to kick the day off. It's Suning and LNG, and I want to reiterate that this is a crucial matchup when it comes to seeding for playoffs. Seeding is incredibly important in the LPL. If you can get into top 4, you skip a lot of the playoff bracket. There is a double elim part of the bracket later on into the bracket. The higher seeding you are, the more likely you are to make it to that double elim and have yourself a lifeline in playoffs. Both these teams desperate to do exactly that, but Kadaya looking at the idea of invading here with the ward over on Icon. Suning know everything that is happening.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have the Olaf with them. I'm pretty sure he got spot on that ward on the top side. So you can see Suning not too worried about this. Actually, Angel going to get a decent trade against Icon going in towards that mid lane. So we will kind of just go even Steven. Zac actually going to start on his Wolves for SofM. So not really getting any help, which means that Tarzan will have a faster clear here than SofM getting through the jungle. But at least they're starting on opposite sides of the map. So you should still see that opportunity for SofM to get himself that early risk.
Now, I want to just quickly mention Angel in this mid lane. We saw him already getting an aggressive trade-off there. I feel like he's been a pretty underrated mid laner in the LPL across the course of this year. I think he's been one of the more stable parts of the Suning roster. But it feels good to see him finally getting a bit of recognition. Obviously, mentioning his Malzahar, the Nemesis, saying he's one of the better mid laners and all of this good stuff. So it's nice to see Angel getting a little bit of notoriety internationally after making it to World Finals. It felt like people had seemed to kind of forget he existed again. So it feels good to see him on the forefront once more.
Yeah, and one of the big things that I want to highlight is his champion pool as well, because we talked about at Worlds, we started to see him bring out this Akali that we never expected him popping off, taking over games on it. Never seen him the Renekton. He's played 17 unique champions and looks absolutely phenomenal on so many of these picks. And now SofM in towards the mid to try and help him, but this flexibility for Angel offers so much for Suning. You can see it here, right? They managed to get the Renekton, this big power pick on the current patch, and still getting the comfort for being in that top lane. And it's even when you see him bringing out things like the Malzahar the other day, it means you've always got this fun play that you can make with Angel in that mid lane.
It feels like Angel has a lot of flexibility, as you say, but a lot of viability in whatever meta comes his way. He probably is an expert on those champions, even bringing things like the Malzahar out, bringing things like the Lulu out that he's still 100% win rate on. Tarzan's on the top side of the map, though, and it looks like he'll be able to get himself a Scuttle Crab. They're going to be trading across this one. Is SofM going for a very early gank in the mid lane, but it was kind of mid-pathing towards his bot side.
Yeah, just kind of moving over down towards that scuttle. You can see he has like a couple of camps behind on this Olaf because of that slower clear we talked about, especially not getting help on those early stages. So he's going to be taking this nice and easy, quicker back for Tarzan. And we got to see now if Tarzan's going to be able to punish this right. Oh, actually, maybe looking for the top side, but I want to see Tarzan resetting here, working off the priority that he has in mid. Ale needs to be very careful here.
Yeah, Bin is not afraid of 2v1s. Let's just quickly remind everyone that we've seen Bin win a 2v1 before. Ale gonna head straight back to base. And that's the thing, when you're trying to set up for the gank, you have to try and look juicy, right? You have to make it look like you're taking bad trades to try and get the all-in out. I think Bin just actually read that and said, look, I'm gonna get this cheeky trade. Never quite overextended enough that you can gank me. But then again, maybe I'll just extend for the wave instead and die 1v1 to Ale. Bin will be able to get a hook shot out. The flash from Ale, nicely done to block the escape. Forces the flash from Bin. It's still an even trade in flashes, though.
Yeah, it was a close one, though. Nearly able to get that one from SofM. Now, Ale has just reset and is going to reset again. Wave pushing into him, so with half his health bar gone, obviously a little bit worried about Bin coming in and trying to find the repeat play, and now might actually lose out a little bit of that wave on top side.
Yeah. I feel like maybe you could just sit on the tower, though, and just farm this huge wave that Bin is now definitely going to crash for free off of that recall. I don't know. Am I completely off base for that one, Dagda? I feel like maybe just staying and trying to soak up the wave on the tower could have been the better option.
So I think his biggest worry here was where SofM was positioned on the map, because you can go for a dive with the Zac, set up really well for the kill, and not really be able to do very much as Ale, especially with no flash there, and not able to spot out where the Zac was. So I think a bit worried about a dive. It was just like, look, I'm going to play this safe with that big wave about to crash.
Ooh, LP gets knocked up. Nice little satchel charge from Huanfeng there. Didn't have any mana to properly follow up on the knockup. Such is the nature of early game Ziggs, but SofM's moving over, and he doesn't have to get in vision to make the gank happen. He can do it from very far away over to LPP. Misses the knockup, but he can get the slow for himself. Flashes forward to pull them together, knocks them into their heads. And that's an easy first blood here for Suning.
Well played by Suning. I mean, SofM, we talked about how Zac just changes up all the gank paths that you have to worry about, and you see it there, coming in from behind vision, able to get straight on towards LP and smacking him against Kadaya to set up first blood.
I feel like whenever you see a Zac get his E off, or his Q off, sorry, it feels like you need the coconut sound effect of them like knocking their heads together. So we get some heavy trading from Bin and Ale, but it looks like Bin's going back in. Doesn't have much mana, so can't really commit to the all-in.
Yeah, you can see how back and forth this matchup is, though, right? You've got to try and play this kind of hit and run style as Jax, and the second your Counter-Strike is down, well, then you can look for the hook shot coming through from Bin. It's very mechanically intensive, and one misstep either way can just end the lane. So you can see there's so much back and forth here between Bin and Ale, but we're getting to the attention.
Yeah. And On shows on this top side as well, just to make sure that Tarzan knows he's here. He's like, all right, guys, you just leave my top laner alone, okay? On's here to save the day. Not sure about the control ward. He perhaps thought that Tarzan had left away there and had backed off, but we'll be able to keep his top laner safe. Huanfeng, in the meantime, TP'd back to that bot lane. Here's on the Ziggs, so even if Kadaya was on the bottom side, which Kadaya had roamed up as well, but even if that was the case, there's no way you can dive a 60 in the game. He's too good at clearing the wave.
Yeah, I think the big thing that we're looking at more so is that Rift Herald, though. With that TP going bot side, Huanfeng wanting to really shove out this wave and try and move up towards it. Looks like, at least for LP, having hit that level 6, he might be able to get this shoved in just because Kadaya is moving first. So I want to see who's going to move over towards this Rift Herald. It hasn't been a big port of call for teams like Suning, but certainly I think this is something that could start to move a bit of gold back in towards LNG's favor after losing out on some of these early game trades.
Do you have On returning to this bottom lane? It will just be to try and gain control of the river here in terms of vision and set up for potentially looking into some neutral objectives. We're 8 minutes into the game, Dagda. No dragons taken, no heralds taken. I'm surprised to see both of these junglers being relatively quiet when it comes to that. But obviously Zac not very good at taking the Drake without laners alongside him. But Tarzan, he's been playing up towards the top side. So I guess there's never really been much of a window for him to be able to look for anything.
Yeah, and I think that's just an understanding from Tarzan going, hey, look, if we can get Ale ahead, we kind of shut down Sunin's game plan. Because a lot of the times what we see from Sunin is playing heavily through Bin, trying to see if they can get these first towers down. They've actually got the 4th highest tower take of 15 in the LPL right now. And then snowballing off that side lane pressure. When you're on the sack pick, though, as you rightly pointed out, it's a lot more difficult to try and quickly take these towers. And if Tarzan is situated topside, making sure that LA's safe, there's not really much room for them in that 2v2, just because you turn towards Bin, kill Bin, and there's very little that SofM can provide.
That's very lucky for SofM there that the ward in the top lane brush was just timing out, because it means he gets to see the ward die, so he knows he was spotted. He doesn't have to waste a bunch of time. If there's another 30 seconds on that ward, I mean, he would just sit in that brush, never having an opportunity onto Ale. But you could always have an opportunity as Zach, as he just dives over the wall anyway. They just bop Ale around. Let's bounce, baby. As SofM looks for a little more Tarzan. Starting this Herald off, but it's reset now. And you can see Huanfeng is just staying in this bottom side. They've got to pick on the top laner, so they certainly don't need the AD carry to roam. And Huanfeng will be able to get some plates.
And this is one of the downsides that we've seen from LNG, is their kind of lack of coordination, lack of vision control in a lot of situations. In that part of the map, you've already got Icon who's started to shift over. They were looking at a potential dive for Bin, but no one goes, all right, we'll stick down a couple of wards on our way out. So it means that you end up in this situation where you can sneak SofM continuously into this top lane and eventually make it work.
Oh, the stun comes through. You can't go on the frozen path, but here comes Kadaya to answer the play at very least. Icon takes a lot of damage for his trouble on that one. Angel will be happy with the trade that happened regardless. But that's one of the important things we've got to quickly mention about Lissandra, is that if the CC is there, the escapability that we're so used to seeing Lissandra have gets completely removed.
Yeah, I mean, she'll still be pretty safe at the moment. Still had her flash, still has her frozen tomb as well. So both teams now, though, trying desperately to get up towards this Rift Tower. This is like the 2nd or 3rd time now we've seen Tarzan start up this objective, but you just don't have control over the map right now. Suning doing a good job of keeping priority mid with On sitting here. SofM now moving across as at least now LNG have numbers advantage in the area.
Yeah, LP is down in the bottom side of the map, but Huanfeng's moving over. I'm not sure I like this play from LNG. I feel like this could go a little bit pear-shaped, and I think they've realized it too, as they all back away from the Herald. So attempt number 2 has been quashed once again at a TP on the bottom side here. It's going to be Angel looking for LP. LNG LP going to be collapsed on. That's 5 letters, but is he going to have enough HP to survive this one? I don't think so. Angel comfortably takes the 1v1.
And I love how Angel just held on to that second portion of Slice and Dice so he could always follow the second LP try to flash the wall. Now Bin.
Bin's in trouble. Will actually flash off of his E because he was scared that Ale would do the same thing as last time, right? Blocking the wall dive off of the E. So nicely done there by Bin. Will survive the play, and importantly, this means LNG now once again going to start off the Herald, but Huanfeng, he's playing Ziggs. He only has to get another half of a plate, and he can just press W and get first blood on this tower totally alone. Solo gold on the bottom side of the map here. LNG trying desperately to do the Herald. There it is. Solo first tower for Huanfeng. He got all 5 plays by himself. Angel goes down to the mid lane though as Icon gets the solo kill. And now a fight. A skirmish going on as On jumps in the middle of everyone. SofM into his cell division, but Galio slamming down to save Ale's life. He finally falls as Huanfeng now over the wall. Satchel charge not going to land as Bin gets a double kill. Kadaya's going to go down as well. Bin with the triple, and the scissors come up trumps.
And this is just Suning playing the map so much better than LNG. They trade for that bot tower, instantly reset with Huanfeng, and have him teleport to the fight. It was always a numbers advantage for Suning, thanks to Angel being able to get that initial kill onto LP, and Suning playing around that so incredibly well. So when we actually get to the fight, it's never even. And even here you go, Huanfeng saying, excuse me, I'm Ziggs, you don't get to try and have all this time on Terra. Now, LP still managed to get a couple of plates for himself and trade back, but that is already, as you can see from the gold and the kill advantage, heavily in favor of Suning.
And the Herald for 13 minutes now still doesn't go down. That was attempt 3 by LNG, and they still just can't get the damn Herald. They've spent so much time and so much effort trying to finish it off, and Suning thwarting them at every turn. And now, just look at that top lane, man. We talked about Bin versus Ally, how it was going to be a volatile matchup. Well, now Bin has 4 kills. Ally does not get to 1v1 this Camille anymore. Ally hasn't finished his first item. Bin already has 1.5.
Yeah, and they're both going for this same first mythic, right? Which just shows you how far behind you are as Ally here. And this has been such a back and forth matchup, but as you said, it's completely over now. Ally has to play massively in the back foot. And we're going to get the pro view here of the solo kill for Icon in the mid lane. Angel trying to go aggressive just as he sees everyone on Suning going aggressive in the mid lane, but goes that bit too far forward. Not sure, it must, oh, he didn't have the Dominus available after killing LP in that bot lane, so doesn't have the health HP bar to actually survive that. But again, like, watch this play. You get the TP coming through from Huanfeng on that bottom side. So when LP answers the bot wave, there's nothing that LNG can do. Honestly, I think you back off at this stage. It's a way too far of an overcommit when you realize you're going to be at the numbers disadvantage.
And the funny thing about that fight is that is like one of the classic rookie errors that you make when you're first playing against Zac, right? You focus so hard on the little bloblets in the fight that you ignore the fact that there's a Camille just auto-attacking you the entire time. Nobody even looked at Bin. And now the wave is cleared on the bottom side. Drake was taken by Tarzan, but SofM gets his grubby mitts on that Rift Herald, and he can move up towards that top side to slam it onto this tower as well. Ally knows he's in trouble, has to flash away from the hookshot wall dive. This will be minimum of 1 tower taken here.
Yeah, and this now becomes incredibly difficult for LNG to fight because both win conditions for Suning are very far ahead. Being in the top lane, we've already kind of touched on, but the gold for Huanfeng as well nearly is the same as Bin despite his scoreline, because he's been able to use his Mega Inferno Bomb to steal away a bunch of that CS on the bottom side of the map. He got that entire turret and turret plates to himself, so this Ziggs is monstrous as well. And now when you look at split push or team fight, it's Suning favor.
Bin's in trouble though, he is 1v4 here. I don't think there's much of a way out of this one. We'll get a hookshot wall dive, but the undertow follows him and finishes the kill off. So at least there's a shutdown there, going the way of LNG, a much needed shutdown as well. Because Huanfeng is continuing to push in the mid lane here, continuing to just get damage down. You can see just a couple of bombs onto LP is half of his health. The Liandry's already finished here. And now we rinse and repeat onto Ally. We've seen this play before from SofM, but looks like they won't pull the trigger for now.
One of the sad things about that kill onto Bin, though, was that big bounty going towards Tarzan, because this Olaf is eventually just going to become useless in fights. Like, trying to run through that Suning front line is never going to be good as Tarzan, but we are going to see the replay here, just able to pick off Bin. But eventually, you're going to get to this point as Tarzan where it's like, cool, I've got to try and get through Bin, who's absolutely destroying me. The Renekton, the Zac, even On as well, providing that front line. You're never really going to get on towards Huanfeng or any of those in the back line. So for Tarzan, although it's nice to get this bit of a boon, it does mean that you're not getting it back towards Ally to try and even up that matchup. And that's a bit of a sad point for LNG.
And I just want to quickly point out the CS numbers in this game so far. Huanfeng is on 190 CS at 17 minutes into the game. This guy is farming like an absolute machine right here. The Herald will finish off this mid tower. That is all 3 tier 1s taken now. And the thing is, this Ziggs is not going to get weaker. This is a pick that scales exceptionally well. He's better late game than he is early, and he's had an amazing early game. Feels like this is only going to get worse for LNG as Angel jumps over a wall here. Does have teammates nearby, so he'll be safe. Clears away the vision himself. And it's actually LNG that have to back away after everything.
Yeah, they can see a lot of movement around mid lane and didn't really want to try and take a full-on fight right now. You can see that they're still kind of swooning a little bit from the last couple of punches that Suning have given. And when there's a dragon in 2 minutes, there's no point giving a bunch of extra gold over towards that. And honestly, I don't think that LNG want to try and contest this second dragon. They're still going to wait for LP to get a bit more items under his belt. Same with Ally in that matchup. So I think they're better off giving up the dragon and trying to find ways to get more gold into their pockets while Suning are focused on that objective.
Does feel a bit like dragon is going to be kind of irrelevant this game. I don't anticipate any team getting certainly don't expect this game to go towards like the Elder stage of things, right? Maybe a soul happens if the game goes very slow for Suning, but realistically in this position, you have a composition that could snowball exceptionally hard. Ziggs is already on 2 items at this point. You're able to just demolish the towers. The passive scales with AP, right? So everyone always talks about the satchel charge to finish the towers off, but Ziggs' passive short fuse means that he has empowered auto attacks that do extra damage to towers as well, so can be really crucial. Ale pulled in, great little Q snipe from SofM. It's going to force out the Grandmaster's might. Huanfeng steals away the enemy blue buff here. Now pressure on towards that bottom side as LNG look to be grouping on the top side of the map.
Yeah, I think we're kind of hitting the point though where Suning are pretty comfortable, right? We said that both these teams not the best at playing from behind, and Suning have traditionally had a pretty slow early game. The fact that they're now sitting, you know, just at 20 minutes into the game, 3k gold up, they got those 2 late game scalers that we talked about in the Ziggs and the Camille, means that they're going to be relatively okay. Now, Jax will eventually outscale the Camille. This is not like a Camille late game matchup, but just the damage that Bin will be able to do in these team fights to LP, to Tarzan, means that he's going to still be a massive threat regardless. So I think for Suning, if they can now start to just play their game where they get the vision control around these objectives, start to push in that little bit further and outplay LNG on the map when it comes towards just overloading one side of the map to take a tower, is going to be the way Suning can close this one out.
I really, really want to see the goal difference between AD carries this game. With no kills on Huanfeng, he's 230 CS. He's 50 ahead of LNG's bot laner. And the crazy thing is, LP has almost 10 CS per minute and is somehow 50 CS down. That is such a ridiculous situation to find yourself in. As soon as get themselves a Drake. And they have such an incredibly good 1-3-1 this game as well.
I'm actually going to have a quick look at the chart, because so if you were 20 minutes into the game, perfect CS is like 242. So like you're really not that far off here as a Huanfeng. Three minions away from perfect CS. That's kind of nuts. That is actually insane. And obviously he's, I'm sure, got a couple of jungle camps during all of that. He's TP'd to different lanes as well to kind of cheat the number a little bit. Use that Mega Inferno bomb to just pick up. Like, Angel went to the bot side to farm one of the lanes, and like you just saw the Mega Inferno bomb hit and take like 10 of the CS that Angel had just prepped for himself.
Like, Ziggs is like Ezreal bot, right? Where you're more than happy to use that ult. When you think back to Uzi playing Ezreal at international events many eons ago, he was always ulting the other lanes, and the RNG laners would set the wave up so that Uzi could ult it and take an extra wave for himself. And Huanfeng Ziggs is kind of a similar deal to that right now. He's got a bit of a skirmish. Tarzan looking for a fight with SofM. Glacial Path not going to be followed, though, and SofM backs out.
Still, though, this is exactly what we want to see from Suning, right? Getting control up around this Baron objective, making sure that they're keeping these waves in a position where Bin can threaten alongside Angel in the side lane, and then look to try and power through that. This is something that Suning do incredibly well, and it's why, like, when I see a Suning game, I'm not overly worried about, you know, if they have dragons, or same kind of for LNG. They're one of the slowest teams at taking these first dragons, but what they are very good at is pressuring the map and taking these Barons. That's the objective that they use to close out the games.
But we'll see if they're going to be able to have any look at Baron this game, because right now it doesn't feel like LNG are going to be the ones in control of those kind of objectives. And that's a cute little combo I never thought of. Ale's going to go down with the bomb on top of the ultimatum. What can you do? Icon closest to cap on Huanfeng, who just tanks him. He's afraid of no Lissandra, just throws bombs in and actually survives. That was maybe the most disrespectful Ziggs positioning I've ever seen.
It was just like, yeah, you ain't gonna kill me. Now it kind of got a bit dicey towards the end of that. I wasn't sure if Huanfeng had actually made the correct calculations, but did manage to carry the one, survives, and gets another one on the board for Suning. But this is what we're talking about with Suning, right? Getting these sidelines in order and then just overloading the side of the map. And we're seeing it there with Angel TPing down, SofM coming in, Huanfeng coming in as well off that play. It's something that Suning do so well, playing around Bin in the side lanes. And you're seeing it here again, where you get that TP in for Icon, Angel instantly responds, and there's just more bodies from Suning here on this bot side.
So he gets rooted and ever frosted, to be fair to him. But then look, he just stays. He doesn't even back away at that point. He still stays and just throws a bunch of bombs in. Nicely done here by Suning. It feels like they have complete control here. 4,000 gold lead. And now they can start to set up around this Baron, because look at the items on Huanfeng. He's like, I think 300 or 400 gold away at this point from finishing a Horizon Focus, which is an unbelievable item on Ziggs, because almost all of your damage is beyond that range threshold that increases the AP that you gain. And once he gets to 3 items with the Lwandy's, he can burn through a Baron.
And he's so quickly approaching that with how well he's been CSing, the extra assist that he's managed to pick up. So, I mean, this Ziggs is going to be massive. And we already talked about, hey, look, play through side lanes, Bin wins. Play through team fights, Huanfeng wins. So it really does feel like for LNG, there's very little wiggle room now for them to actually get control. Now, again, Ale will eventually outscale. The problem is he's 1 and a bit items to 2 and a bit items.
That was an unfortunate trade, though, for Bin. Even though Ale is massively behind, that one wasn't an unfortunate trade. My God, the damage from Bin. He's like, you know what? Doesn't matter that I messed up before. I got the items. I'm going to dash over the wall as Angel's trying to close the gap here. Could be in trouble, but I think he'll survive for now. 4 men strong are LNG in this mid lane. It makes it a little difficult for Suning, but SofM, remember, he can engage from a ridiculously long way away. Will clear away the vision and consistently threaten this annoying Zac flank that is so hard to play around. Huanfeng, I mean, he can just endlessly clear these waves, so unfortunately for LNG, there really is no threat to this tower.
Nope. I mean, you've got nothing here. And this is kind of the thing for LNG is, again, they don't really have ways that work well for them to force objectives around the map because they're losing it in side lanes. And they're not really able to pressure on towards dragons because we didn't see them set them up early. So it means you're just in a situation now as LNG where you just got to try and turtle down and make sure you're not giving over anything more towards Suning. That's easier said than done when Suning have this ability to play these like super long range engages with SofM on to almost guarantee it. And Suning are doing such a good job of clearing out the vision and preventing LNG from really knowing what the game plan for Suning is.
Dagda, look at the XP. Huanfeng has the same XP as Bin. Bin's a solo laner. Huanfeng has essentially been a solo laner this game. As On is level 10 to Huanfeng's 15. On is just roaming, allowing Huanfeng to be as huge as physically possible here. Huanfeng now finishing that 3rd item. We talked about the Horizon Focus coming through, but also now having a stopwatch just in case everything goes incredibly pear-shaped. He has a backup plan. This, I mean, it's not been that action-packed of a game, Dagda, but I've been enjoying watching because this is such an interesting draft out from Suning, and they're playing it so beautifully.
Yeah, and I mean, there's little, again, that you can kind of do here as LNG. You're just not in a position to try and contest this. Now, On, again, clearing out all this vision, making sure that LNG have to go and check in blind, and I would not want to go in blind to any of the members on Suning. One-shot potential almost across the board here when you look at Huanfeng, Angel, and Bin.
Look at Icon, though. Icon hanging around in this bottom lane outside of vision. He's like, okay, Ale, look juicy. Try and bait Bin in. Let's see if we can just 2v1 him and find a small window. And ultimately, that's how you got to play in this situation, Dagda. Like, when you're this far behind, when you're against a team that honestly probably scales better than you anyway, with the Camille in the top side and a Ziggs, like, scaling is not a conversation that happens for a good 40 minutes or something in favor of LNG. So it feels like you've got to make these kind of desperation plays to find a way back into this game. Otherwise, it's going to be real tough. On could be in trouble, but he is Rakan. So are you ever in trouble as Rakan? The answer is no.
Yeah, he's going to hop out of that one. The good news for LNG is that, like... Oh, hang on.
Are we going to see a fight here? SofM backs away. I'm going to see a couple of abilities used. Knock up onto Icon. Bomb onto a few. Tarzan forced forward and a taunt to buy space from Kadaya. TP now channeled in. On forced out of the play, but he jumps out with the grand entrance here. Ale in the back line. Trying to get a stun off. Gets onto SofM. Grand entrance as well comes through. As it's 1 kill to Bin so far. Icon buying space in the backline. Bin doing the same on the opposite side of the map here. He is literally 2v3 with Angel, and they somehow win it. That is insane, the sustain that these two solo laners have. And Tarzan's left alone as the stopwatch comes in. LPP knocked up.
God.
A triple for Bin. 13-3 and team fight dominance from Soon.
It's 30-3, and 8 of those kills are on Bin. This Camille is huge, and with that Suning, they don't need Barons, they don't need anything else. They're just going to close out this game.
Who needs a Baron when you've got a Ziggs? Huanfeng, the secret agent, 007 scoreline to finish this game out, and it has been beautiful here from Suning. And random little tidbit for anyone that wants to know, your W can hit both Nexus towers. So with the Ziggs, destroy them at the same time. The Ziggs will get both. That's game one, though. Finished off by Suning. And honestly, Dagda, that was domination.
That was complete and utter domination. And I think the big thing was that, like, there was never a moment where we kind of looked and went, oh yeah, LNG are threatening Suning in any capacity. Like, we looked at, okay, well, these early skirmishes go in Suning's direction. Are we getting any sort of movement from LNG towards, like, making proactive plays with, like, Icons priority in mid, or maybe trying to TP ally down to the bot side? Not at all. So Suning just slowly farm up this game. SofM gets some of these great ganks off, utilizing the Zac to his full capacity. From that point forward, you got 4 kills in Camille. Like, just play through Camille like Suning did, and they just win the game.
And the thing is as well, when we think about the picks that LNG went for here, things like this Lissandra in the mid lane, we have seen it cropping up. We've seen it becoming a part of the meta, but generally speaking, it's been picked up as that LeBlanc counter pick. When you're against Renekton, it doesn't really have that same impact on the game, and we didn't really get to see Icon managing to influence the map all too much, and part of that is because both of the side lanes felt like they were falling apart very early on.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of been the problem that I've seen with LNG a lot. Now, again, we saw the complete opposite against OMG, where they were going aggressive. They were actually making these proactive plays with TPs down to the bottom side. But as a whole, LNG have been pretty lackluster when it comes towards impacting the other lanes or moving out and using their priority elsewhere. We kind of saw it here against Angel, where Icon, even having Kadaya there to influence the map, get Icon a lead, he never actually tried to move out of the lane and make these plays happen, lock down Bin in the early stages and work with Tarzan to get LA ahead. It meant that Suning had a pretty easy time in these early stages. They just played the individual matchups, let Bin scale into a point where he was just a monster and took over.
Yeah, I mean, you could see the damage. Bin was an absolute nightmare. And Huanfeng, you know, I think a lot of people at home maybe were expecting to see more damage from Huanfeng there. You have to remember, he's not a PvP player, right? He's playing PvE. He's doing the raids. He's grinding mobs. He's not really all about the arenas. So he was just dealing with minions, dealing with jungle camps, dealing with dragons, and just pushing towers. And honestly, I love to see it. I love to see different strategies here in the LPL. And Suning certainly bringing that flavor. We're going to jump into a break, and we'll be back to see if LNG